Hi everyone, it's Ileana and I have a simple card to share with you today. It's a card that I made for Father's Day. You could use this card for any kind of masculine type card that you want to make. You can just substitute the sentiment on the inside of the card. I have two of the stitched rectangles from Lawn Fawn, and I'm just checking to see where I want to place my stamps. And once I know where I want them to go, I go ahead and cut out my panels with my die cutter, with my Big Shot, and I'm just going to stamp the front panel, the smaller panel, with these stamps. The first stamp is from a Kelly Perky stamp set from Simon Says Stamp from a while back. It was an exclusive, and the stamp set is called Dude. And I thought the sentiment went well with the globe. It says, "Where in the world would we be without you?" And I'm just centering it using a transparency with a grid printed on it. And you could use any kind of a grid type imaging sheet, kind of like the quilters templates. And I just counted the grid squares on both sides of the sentiment to make sure it was centered. And I'll be stamping the sentiment with the VersaFine Black Onyx ink, and it does come in this cute little tiny mini pad, and it just works really well with the MISTI just because I'm not getting ink all over it. And once I stamp the sentiment, I go ahead and I put some clear embossing powder, and I heat set it with my heat gun. I like the VersaFine because it just does a very crisp stamp, so it's my favorite black ink. And once I get that taken care of, I go ahead and clean my stamp with my absorber, and I will place my globe, the stamp to the globe, onto the panel, and I want to make sure that it's straight. So I go ahead and pull out that imaging sheet, and I just want to make sure that it's centered, that it's in the middle of the card. And once I'm happy with that, I go ahead and pick that up with the lid of the MISTI. And I'm going to be using my embossing buddy so that I don't get stray embossing powder where I don't want it. And at first I start to use the mini cube with the distress embossing, but it was a little too juicy, and so I went back to the Versamark ink pad, and I went ahead and used some silver embossing powder, and I believe the brand that I have is from Michael's. It's the Recollections brand. And I don't have a container for it because I don't use it too often, so I'm just using a scratch sheet of paper to catch the powder, and then I'll funnel it back into the container. I'm just using a little brush to clean off any of the powder that was stray, and I'm going to be embossing it with my heat gun. You want to try to heat up your heat gun so that it doesn't warp the pattern paper because it is thinner. Now I'm stamping the globe, and I did originally stamp it with a brown ink, and I didn't like the way it looked. You can see it on the left hand side there. So I went back and I used the black so that it would match the sentiment. And I'm going to emboss it simply because I don't want to wait for the black onyx ink to dry before I use my distress ink to add some color. And once I'm done embossing it, like I said, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to put some accents on top of the globe at the end, but for the moment I want to move on and use my distress ink to color it in. And I'm using, I'm not sure what color that is. I don't remember what it is. It's one of the blue ones from the distress ink line. And now I'm taking some black ink, and I don't know where my black distress ink is, and so I'm just using the Simon Says Stamp Black to just add some edging to the card, just so that it's not so clean. Just adds a little bit of interest. And I'm doing that on both panels. And what I'll do now is I'm going to add some foam to the back of the smaller panel, and I'm just taking a small piece of craft foam, and I have this tan one so that it can blend in with the pattern paper. And I'm just using my ATG gun to add some adhesive, and it was a little gunked up, so I had to clean it off. And once I get the adhesive on there, I just adhere that small piece of foam. And the ATG gun won't stick, the adhesive won't stick to the foam, and so I just put it on the other panel. And now I'm going to add the globe to the card. And what I'll do is I'll just take my roll of foam tape, and when I cut my foam, and if I have any extra pieces, I just stick it to the side of my roll. You can see the little pieces sticking there, and then I can just pull off the pieces that I need. And I go ahead and add my globe. And here is my sentiment from the same Kelly Perky stamp set. There was a Father's Day, Happy Father's Day in there, and I'm sorry I'm zoomed in. I'm just taking that same transparency and I'm lining up my sentiment with that, and I basically just count the grid squares on both sides of that, so that that's how I know it's centered. It is that I know that how many grid squares on either side of the sentiment, and I'm just making sure that the sentiment is straight on my lid. And I am just using the same ink, the black. And now I'm going to adhere my panel to the front of my card. And I like doing it this way because then I know that the panel is straight. So what I do is I take the panel, the card, and I put it in the corner, and then I just use the corner to put my front onto my card. And then that way I could trim off any extra that's overhanging. And now I'm going to be placing enamel dots, and I typically I stress out over where to put these, and then I just decided I'm just going to place them down and just go with it and not worry too much about placement, instead of agonizing over where I'm going to put those enamel dots. And I'm going to be adding some glossy accents to the globe, and I'm going to just cover the whole thing. And the owner of Scrap Perfect sent me the little applicator, and I really do like it a lot. I'll be sure to link to it in the description and on my blog post. And once I get the glossy accents all over the globe, there's a couple of air bubbles, and I just kind of pop those with a little piercer just to get the bubbles out. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.